this really does put to rest any fears that people have that machines will eventually take over the world.
All you need to do is run to the opposite wall, push it,
Greetings, true believers, and welcome back to the only wrestling podcast that exclusively rebooks, reimagines, and fantasises, yes, we fantasise, about wrestling's worst. I am joined, as ever, to my right by Arm Fall Off Boy, Sam Chance.
Oh, hello.
That's the right.
Oh.
So, yeah, did your arm fall off?
Yeah, I've only got a left.
To my left, by Doorman. He was in the Avengers.
Was he?
They recruited him.
Yeah, Jack Chance.
How come he don't get in the films?
Doorman.
Yeah.
He's the one who'll set it all right.
Avengers Endgame. Revolving doorman. Shut the door.
And see, as Thanos is coming in, he just closes the door.
Back to normal.
Bugger after you. Float your own end.
And I am Leather Boy Ben Chance.
Leather Boy.
He was in the Avengers. Look it up.
What a shit year.
Yeah.
Foreign leather.
Boy warrior heel. I thought he was a spider.
I don't know.
Arm fall off, man.
He's classified as a superhero anyway.
Man actually is a boy.
Is he?
Yeah, pathetic.
Yeah, you're the boy of the group.
He's
So.
a boy.
Well,
Yeah.
what about a leg fall off?
That's his heel.
Older brother.
That's his super villain.
What's his sidekick? Finger fall off.
And if you haven't guessed it by now, it is comic related today. We are reviewing the Sinister Six of wrestling's past. But who will the six be? Before we start, are you excited for the Royal Rumble this Sunday?
Yeah, I am.
You like a Royal Rumble, don't you? This is the time of year you come alive.
No, go hibernate after that. Not the greatest rumble. It wasn't very
I
great.
don't think it's been built up very well, to be fair.
No, we'll change in the main event. One of the main event matches 2 weeks out. Cause
And the fact that now Body from SmackDown looks like I'm going to win it.
Well, I mean, there is a bit more of a you don't know who's going to win this year. Well, you don't know.
yeah, it's true though. Yeah, I mean
he's
it's
the most likely immortal, really.
it's the first time that
But it's wide open.
Is he? Well, wouldn't he?
it's the first time that the odds don't particularly look massive. Normally you can pretty.
Betting.
Yeah.
Goes into what? That's what you're laughing at.
Grand Tolt.
He could win.
Well, he did win one day for that promotion
exactly,
in Norwich.
Exactly. He's unbeaten in the Rumble.
And I'll ask you
That was a
to.
40 man.
I'll ask you to the same question that I asked Twitter yesterday. So you probably know, Jack. Who would you want to enter the Royal Rumble as a mystery entrant?
Rick Martel.
Oh, Rick.
Rick. Yes. He can still go somewhere.
In
Then
his,
again, he's in the concussion thing. Yeah, so they won't have him.
I watched him enter the 1995
The
Royal
one where
Rumble.
everybody just randomly come in every minute.
I noticed that his pants got larger and larger every Royal Rumble he entered. He had really large purple pants.
He
Have a
took
look.
Anvil's place in that.
Did he?
Yeah, it was meant to be
Who?
Anvil. No, he wore Anvil.
Hey! Jack, who would you?
Deuce.
Yeah.
Deuce.
He can team with them greasers on their NXT. Or...
Deuce. Yeah, the new grease. The new Deuce and Domino from NXT.
So I think that kind of sums up why we review the worst of wrestling with those two choices, because mine would be Warlord.
No, I'm vetoing that.
No, Warlord.
Veto
her in a dress.
So yeah, we'll see whether any of those three do enter. Nah, we're far too sexist for that on this podcast.
No, Boulder Carno, your girl boy,
yeah.
boy girl,
your girl boy, your boy girl, your girl boy,
boy girl, whatever.
Your favourite.
You're my favourite.
We start our Sinister 6 lineup with Fantasio. So I should prefix it that what we tried to do with our selection of 6 tidbits in this episode is to is to look at people who made a very small impact and appeared in.
It was a small noise.
Yes, in as few as one appearance in WWE, TNA. We will be versed into TNA and WCW. But our first offering takes us to the new gen era of WWE. Oh, we're knee deep in that new gen. It's July 16th, 1995's edition of Superstars. Is that still on? Superstars. They still do Superstars?
No, that died quite a while ago.
I didn't know whether they still did it. Is it main event?
Main event, I think, still goes on.
As we check out Fantasio. But before we do, as ever, we check out the world of pop music in 1995. And I can tell you that the number one was quite something that me and you would sing quite regularly, Jack, recently. Because the number one...
Was it Three Lions?
No. It was Out There, Brothers. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody say Gale.
Gale.
That's the song that we sing for Dwight Gale currently. Yeah. And we hope we'll be singing in a couple of hours' time against Brighton in the FA Cup.
Battle of the Albions.
Is it Boom, Boom, Boom by Baldrick? From Blackadder with his poem. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, good thing.
Yes. That's been spliced in. But if they don't want to check out Boom Boom Boom, what album offering or song offering do you have today, Jack?
Well, if they want to, you ain't got to. If you want to, I ain't forcing anyone. 1995, July, to be precise.
Oh.
There was the group Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know what's coming?
Yes.
And the song is Crossroads.
Yes.
Of the album E 1999 Eternity.
Yeah, we'll do 2 polls. This will appear on one of them.
Better for me.
Yes.
I got to listen to all this.
I got to do all 6.
So
you're
check.
going to listen to an album that you're only going to listen to Crossroads. That's it.
Oh, can you imagine? So check out our Twitter page at BCC Pod. And our Facebook page, which is now facebook.com/BCC Pod, which will also give you links to our YouTube channel. Oh yes, we're big time now.
Big time.
But yes, check out Facebook and Twitter. So, Fantasio. It was just a couple of months before WCW fired the first shot in the Monday Night Wars in 1995 when Nitro debuted. The wrestler named Harry Del Rios would debut. He had quite a good look, to be fair. He looked quite muscular and athletic. He was 6'3" and close to 275 pounds, so you can understand why WWE wanted to take a look at him. Do you know who trained Harry Del Rios? WWE Hall of Famer.
Johnny Rods.
Johnny Rods, indeed. Absolutely.
Johnny Rods.
And he was a project of, in WWE, whose project in '95?
Bruce Pritchard.
Vince McMahon. He spent time.
I was going to say Pat. Pat.
We're doing a magic shop.
Well, yeah, definitely. But Vince sent him down to USWA.
I thought he was going to say send him to the shop. Could have found shop.
Magic tricks.
So he'd been spending his time down in USWA, honing his craft down there, before he was eventually...
Magic.
Well, he was eventually called north to debut in the WWF in the summer
I
of
thought you meant that's what he was going to be
1995.
called.
Mate,
Just North.
Well, there were several ideas pitched back and forth for a gimmick for Del Rios, but Vince loved.
Del Rios.
Yes, Vince just loved the fact that Harry Del Rios was a real life amateur magician, so they came up with a gimmick
Oh, I can see that means.
named Fantasio.
For the top left. I love it, pal.
He was styled on. Do you know what? Do you know what wrestler he was styled on? Previous.
I'm not good enough.
That we've watched.
Well,
Shango?
yeah, Papa Shango was the styling behind it. That was the idea.
Was that the
style.
evolution for Papa Shango?
Yeah.
Is that where he was going to get?
Baron Samedi to Papa Shango to Fantasio or Spellbinder or
Well, he
From
did.
evil magic to face magic?
Well, Del Rios actually portrayed a character called Spellbinder in Memphis in USWA.
Oh, yeah, he was, did you?
And something that I found out during his debut is that he was a face, because I always thought he was a heel because he's a magician, and obviously everyone hates magic. So there you go. Fantasio would make his debut on Superstars in July 1995. As we head to Superstars,
That's
JR and Gorilla are on
my
commentary.
enthusiast.
The first time we've seen. Wow, did you see that?
He turned that candle into a walking stick.
Somewhat, but that's another story.
Did you?
Wait a minute here. Did I see what I thought I saw?
Smoke came right out of his hat there.
Oh my! WWF interactive game.
It's Spider-Man.
Can't you must
Oh, Gorilla just goes, whoa, look at that!
Well, Jim Ross kind of ain't bothered, but Monsoon's trying to put him over.
Yeah, when he turns the sparkler into a stick. Gorilla.
Yeah. Turn that candle into a stick. Oh my god! They're hanging from the rafters.
He's facing Tony DeVito of ECW fame, I believe.
Oldies.
Yeah,
He
went
was,
to
It pops up everywhere.
old David DeVito. He's a very strange-shaped man, isn't he?
He's like a mini tater. He's not a jacket tater, a big one. Them little ones called.
Maris Piper. I mean, baby
Like
potato.
taters, yeah, small taters.
He's no relation to Danny, says Gorilla.
Nice, oh yeah, they do mention that.
Yep. So early on in the match, Fantasio ducks a leapfrog, and when DeVito turns around, he tosses some sort of web over the top of him
Spider-Man trick.
to a complete non-pop by anyone. No one cares.
Except Monsoon.
Dude, he goes, whoa!
And then Jim Ross is still just plugging like a shower or something.
The crowd is dead as he tosses DeVito around
A lot
again.
of arm drags in there.
Well, yeah, it only lasts 2 minutes. Gorilla is so shocked on commentary. The commentary.
Imagine we put this on telly.
The commentary team discuss him having no sleeves to hold any of this stuff up, which is true, to be fair. And then I started to think, well, how did he do the webbing thing? And then all of a sudden I thought, hey, Vince is onto something here.
He went in his jocks.
The bit he missed off, though, he take his mask off and then he's got all the thing coming out of his mouth.
His gob.
Yeah, but
That's at the start.
that's at the
'cause
start
you
of the
can
match.
tell it's a mask when he comes out.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Hit!
There's a shoulder tackle, some slams and an atomic drop, and then he, as DeVito is sort of bent over, he pulls DeVito's heart-coloured boxers from out of his.
Vince could be heard cackling in the back.
Yeah.
Look at that, pal!
And this allows a roll-up for a 3. And Fantasio is 1-0 in the WWE and would end as 1-0 in the WWE.
He steals the ref's pants, though. He
Yeah. So after...
They got carted out for this.
Well, he did. After the bell, he pulls Earl's pants, which are striped, obviously, because you must wear striped pants.
This kid, really.
Did he borrow them from Danny Davis? His attire.
This was Michael Jackson attire.
Yeah.
DeVito moans to Earl, and Gorilla warns JR to watch his underwear, and he asks if they match his tie, and JR says, "That's personal," and that's the end of the match.
And the end of his career.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is.
Do they match your tie?
Well, that's personal.
Did you hear the rumour, according to Fantasia, why they had to drop the gimmick?
Because it was shit.
No, apparently he was
Sexual,
saying... No, he was saying apparently Taker kiboshed it because it was too close to his character.
Are you joking?
No, that's the
magician.
rumour. Yeah, that's what it...
Taker's never taken anyone's underwear out in a match.
But that's
Whoa! Take it to the shimmy street.
that would have been the fake Taker.
Started throwing cards at him in the corner.
That's a load of rubbish. He just didn't get over because he was just shit.
People was tired at this point.
I've
wasn't
thought
they?
of
Yeah.
a spot for Fantasia.
Oh.
You could do the old school. Obviously, Taker doing the old school, and then he takes his arm off.
Hey, arm falls off, boy.
Or his hand.
Arm falls off, boy.
Arm fall off, boy.
So yeah, Fantasio has debuted, and as quickly as he's debuted, he has disappeared in true magician style. What did you think of the match, Sam?
Well,
Will.
Don't make me want to shout.
nobody else was shouting except Vince, maybe. It was okay, but I think by this point people was just sick of the shit
Wrestling.
Well, that's that, yeah. Because what did you have on WCW? You had a fucking Yeti and all
Well,
Dungeon of Doom.
I wonder if we'll get to the Yeti as part of the
I think the Dungeon of Doom will just be one whole podcast.
Jack, thoughts on the match?
It was bad. He stumbled through it. The best bit was the tricks, and when the best bit of a match isn't the match, I think you got a problem.
Yeah.
Monsoon.
It's not soon. I don't. Once you've seen it once, what's he going to do next match?
Well, that's it. It's almost as if this is a really difficult one to rebook. This one, I'd hate the task of rebooking this.
I had it for
It was so formulaic. It was in the sense of every single person who debuted in 1995 had to get over whatever sort of profession
Occupation.
they had. So Duke would come out and dump some trash on people, and the pig farmer would throw the slop.
Make an apology,
Yeah, it's just all garbage.
Eat his own shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because plumbers do that.
They do, don't they?
Right.
You gotta taste it. No, you ain't. Just flush it.
Yeah, so it was dead on arrival. This one was.
This skull is that was the Blue Brothers, were they? At this point.
But this is a question for you: what stable did Harry Del Rios actually be a member of?
In the WWE?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Or in wrestling?
In USWA in 1997.
Well, the oddities, was it?
Dos Pericos?
Truth Commission.
Nation of Domination. When they made spots in USWA, when WWE was still sending people down there, Fantasio was actually made into a member. It wasn't Fantasio, but yeah, Farouk inducted him as a member of the
Black Power
Nation.
That's brilliant.
So there you go.
He does that, his hand does fall off.
Brilliant.
So this was so he still hung around with WWE contractually for another couple of years.
We did a new gimmick, pal.
Sent back.
Mime.
Sent to its feeder
more
scene.
like a mime than a magician.
Yeah. I don't know what.
Does Vince not know the difference?
Should he have just wore a big top hat and like a big twirly moustache then?
With a big box.
Paul Daniels. So we always take on the challenge to rebook the gimmicks. This time we're going to be splitting the 6 up into 3 lots of 2, take on 2 each, and Sam got the enviable task of rebooking Fantasio. Yes. So over to you, Sam. How do you pull a rabbit out of this hat?
I don't know. I think I'd pull the dead one out.
That is a dead rabbit.
It is flimsy. I was just really struggling, so I've just made some brief notes. The thing you said at the start, I would actually bring him in as a heel.
Yep.
And I hate doing this to him, but I would put him with Ted, just so he's got somebody who can talk to him. Talk to him. You know, take him with his ball.
With his take CSK.
And I would have him, his main feud would be with Aldo Montoya.
Oh, yeah.
He's fed up the shit.
Yeah, but it sort of stems from when Aldo Montoya
You turn him into a jellyfish.
Ted.
Oh, okay,
try and live him somehow.
Yeah.
I've got to make some sense.
He thought, I've got to get back at the fish, the jellyfish, by bringing in a magician.
Yes. Look, this is Vince in '95. He would just squash jobbers obviously throughout because they don't really interacted. They had a feud at the time, that would be. But I would have him use foreign objects. But when he puts them in his tights, that would disappear. So try and incorporate some of the magic.
Ooh.
But it's mainly to do with foreign objects.
Yeah, get the foreign objects. So who gets over in this feud? The foreign objects.
No, the blow-off would be in your house.
Why is
in your
Got
house?
a pay-per-view match. Jesus.
This is '95. Nobody watched in your house.
Pirates got on in '95.
Exactly. Brett was on a dark match. Exactly. But this would be. He would use brass knucks again, given by Ted.
Yeah.
Against Aldo Montoya. Obviously not some job. And he would again make.
No, he's still a jobber.
He's still a job, but actually Fantasio wins.
Oh.
And what I would have him do some magic trick where he takes Aldo Montoya's mask off.
Okay.
Without touching it, without doing that. But obviously then you can just get rid of Aldo and have someone else from it.
Whatever his real name is.
Yeah. There's some Polish name. No,
yeah.
Portuguese actually. That's why Vince made him Portuguese.
Of course, yeah. He's Portuguese, pal.
Then I'd have him. You're a fish. Then I'd have him just carry on squashing jobbers, and then he'd lose on one of the Raws to Savio Vega.
Yep.
And then obviously Ted would just fire him, and then be out.
Moves to Savio.
No, but then obviously you can make transition where he brings in the ringmaster to feud with Savio.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing. Number one.
He ain't paid for his magic shows anymore.
Caught now. He's not to the trick.
That's how I would get rid of Fantasio.
Yeah.
That would be his feud. It was something.
I think at least in your rebooking, he has the pay-per-view payday.
Yeah, give him something, you know, and then when he bombs, then get rid of him. He got on Raw as well.
If you're rebooking something that you know is going to bomb, that's what I love. I'm going to rebook this. I know it's going to be shit, but I'm sticking with it.
Can you rebook a character though after one match?
It's difficult, yeah, it is.
If you've got like a long story, you know what to do.
Yeah. So, do we think Spider-Man would beat Fantasio? That's what you've got to ask yourself as a Sinister Six foe.
I think so. I think he'd be the one that sort of rotates every so often. Because you know that happened with the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Core, and then like one of the
core. Don't remind people of that.
Listen to our show. Don't watch it, just listen to the show.
Yeah.
And you'll know it.
You can watch it. Nothing to laugh at.
Yeah. So there you go. I think Spider-Man has vanquished his first foe of the Sinister Six as Fantasio disappeared.
Got in the box and never come in.
Been sawed in half.
Sawed himself in half.
There you go. Moving on to our second Sinister Six person. We are still in the world of WWE, but going forward to another sort of transitional period in 2009 as we revisit Kizarny. Ooh. Yes. He's a weirdo. That's his gimmick. He's a weirdo.
Taking the piss, or he the Carny.
The Carny.
To wrestling and all this.
Yeah. But Kizarny's debut was on the 2nd of January 2009, topping the charts was Alexandra Burke and Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes. Still hungover from Christmas. But yeah, if they don't want to listen to probably the 5th or 6th worst recording of Hallelujah, Jack, what offering can you give them instead?
Well, they can listen to Monkey Man by Real Big Fish
Ooh.
off the album Fame, Fortune and Fornication.
Real Big
It's a
Fish.
covers album.
Well,
I like Real Big Fish.
yeah, I was going to say that's quite an abstract offering.
Ska punk.
Yes, Mark would love that.
If you want to listen to it, vouch for it.
Yes,
I'll review it.
So it will
If you want to
appear.
listen to it,
Well, you can listen to it yourself. But if you want to review it.
I'm going to say you're putting sound bites in.
Yeah.
So again, that will appear on our polls on Twitter and Facebook shortly. So Kizarny. Kizarny was a Canadian wrestler named Nick Kreczkowicz.
Got the Polish.
Yeah, he's got a Polish name. Do you know who trained him?
Johnny Rods.
No. Not a WWE Hall of Famer, but a revered trainer nonetheless in 2009. Oh, no. And a kinder person. Al Snow. Al Snow. And he urged him
I bet he's so.
at the time, after training him to get onto the indie scene, to join OVW, which was WWE's developmental territory. And it eventually earned him a WWE contract. Do you know what his name was in OVW? Sin Bodie. Which I believe is still his name.
On the indies now.
Which seems weird. I mean, not that WWE would particularly care too much about protecting an OVW gimmick, but it does seem weird that he's still using it then. So vignettes would start to be shown on SmackDown in 2008, as early as October. So they gave him, nearly a 3-month.
So his promos was longer than his career.
Well, yeah.
Fed up by the time it debuted.
So initially it would just show and hype a wrestler known as Kizarny until the week later, where Kizarny is showed saying, "My name is Kizarny," in Carny speak, yeah. And flash forward now to his debut.
He's a loser.
His debut, which took place again on January the 2nd, 2009. On commentary again is JR, which sort of surprised me to see him on SmackDown. I didn't quite remember him spending too much time. I think he had a couple of partners though, didn't he?
His first one was Foley.
I was going to say.
And then Foley got sick of Vince shouting at him, so he left.
And this is
then
Taz, yeah.
It was
It's Taz!
And then Dave Booth and then go, and then you had like Todd and Matt.
Grisham turned up
Matt
there.
Slaughter,
Yeah.
Josh Matthews randomly appeared.
It was a weird time.
It was a strange SmackDown.
That old trope of WWE MVP on a losing streak, which a gimmick that.
He's got no tunnel coming out.
Yeah.
Lost his tunnel. He's like the
Fireworks.
Is that what you did? I didn't know that happened in WWE. Is that what happens when you lose matches? You lose bits of your gimmick. No, taking that. Pat, take it back to the shops.
recycle it.
So he takes the mic and cuts a promo where it seems he's lost all confidence. He's like, "Oh, get someone out. I'll have a wrestle." So Kizarny comes in.
When he saw the gimmick, let's just get this over.
Yeah.
Come on.
Kizarny is out to his carnival music, as obviously we were talking earlier about Uncaged 7, that's out on Spotify now. I don't think I've ever heard or seen this released on anything. Kizarny, it was the first time I think I've ever heard it. Did you enjoy his carnival music?
Well, it's just fixed the gimmick.
It's a piece of music.
It happened.
Did you hear where he hailed from?
I did try.
I tried that. I can't remember.
Wizard Beach.
Wizard Beach.
Not a wizard though.
No.
Is it Carny?
Well, the commentary try and.
What they have though? You can see it all.
The travellers.
Ostracising us again.
Yeah. No, it's true though. There tend to be Romany travellers. The commentary team try and get out sword swallower references and fire eaters. Yeah. Just literally anything related to the carnival is dropped out.
This, again, similar to the Fantasia thing, is JR trying to make it serious, and he's got somebody who's trying to get it over to him.
Whoa! Kizarny looks very strange, though. I must admit, his look is weird because he's got no sort of arm gear at all, has he?
Because they've got no arms.
He's got no arms again. I'm trying to get over that. No, but he hasn't got any sort of gear down his arms, and he's got the sort of
trousers, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it does kind of suit like a wrestling gypsy kind of look, doesn't it?
It's a weird gimmick.
Yeah,
that he always has.
The commentary team spend most of the match just discussing Kizarny's background, which is a trope throughout. So early on we get backslides, which gets a 1, followed by an arm toss and a leg drop. There's a suicide dive by Kizarny as well, which is weird. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was in place.
That's what I wrote there. I thought it was a bit...
Yeah, just strange.
The crowd was very quiet, though.
Oh, definitely.
Well, until later on, when it sounds very familiar.
Oh, yeah.
This is SmackDown, but they used to dub everything.
Awful. There's a crossbody for a 2, and MVP manages to get some offense and tosses Kizarny under the bottom rope. He then slams him into the guardrail. And again, there's lots of carnival puns about bearded ladies and cotton candy and whatnot. And then we go into our first rest hold, which is sort of like a reverse bear hug on the ground kind of move by MVP, who is now, they're trying to get over, showing a bit of ruthless edge to his offence.
Because they're not ruthless aggression, that era is already...
No, we've moved on now to ruthless edge. The crowd is dead, as you said, Sam. There's a flapjack and a high knee drop, which gets a 2. And then we go back to the rest hold, exactly the same rest hold. There's a lovely overhead belly to belly by MVP though, which he does quite nicely. But a jawbreaker slows him down. Yeah. There's not much chemistry. Yeah, it did.
Kryptonite, MVP, jawbreaker.
There's not much chemistry I put here at all, and there's a spot that really shows this later on. MVP then gets a drop kick to the ankle, and Kizarny now sort of runs and drop kicks him whilst he's sitting, but he doesn't really drop kick him, does he? He just sort of goes arse first.
When he's on the ropes.
He's sitting down on the ropes. Kizarny bounces off, runs towards him, and sort of throws his legs at him. It was a really, really strange spot. And even JR says, I have no idea what that is.
When the commentators will make something to put it over you now.
JR.
Yeah, JR would have said that's a Siberian rest hold,
I think by this time he was pissed off.
Yeah.
Don't worry, because he didn't move without telling him.
So there's turnbuckle smashes and a stomp, and then a very weird cover. Did you see his weird cover where he sort of rolled him up? It was weird.
On his back.
Yeah, on his back, like
he puts his back between MVP's legs and then sort of
leaves his legs. It's weird. The crowd.
Watch the match.
I watched the match, but I've had a few drinks after it.
The crowd. I'll put here. The crowd is behind MVP (brackets if anyone) who goes for his drive-by, which is reversed into a double underhook sort of spike DDT, which did look quite good to be fair.
Future shock.
He didn't really hit the DDT though, did he?
No.
DDT just sort of rolled. Did he head roll?
Yeah, it did a barrel roll.
It rolls through.
Yeah, well, he rolls through for the pin and gets a 3.
As well.
Yeah, which looked awful. I put that here. It's an awful pin. And then the crowd, which have been absolutely dead, really love this pin because suddenly there's a lot of crowd noise, isn't there? It's almost as if it's not real. So Kizarny is 1-0 in WWE, but he doesn't leave on 1-0. No, Kizarny gets another outing the week after, I believe. Is it the week after, or is it a couple of weeks after?
A couple of weeks, says this is leading to the Chamber. So
okay.
After the Rumble.
So this is after the Royal Rumble. Kizarny would appear and compete in a Battle Royal for the final spot of said Elimination Chamber, which is
even though before it they had a promo saying there's 2 spots left.
Oh well, they come
This
out.
is for the finals, but
She comes
what's the
out.
other one?
Well, she comes out, doesn't she, Vicky, in the match and says that Jeff Hardy's going to be giving it if he can compete in it. I don't know what was happening at the time. And this is at No Way Out 2009. And I've put here, it is a plethora of Who's That of SmackDown superstars, as you see Kung Fu Noki and
I think he's. Oh, is he?
Scotty Goldman was in it. I couldn't believe that.
He one out. Vince did that just to piss people off.
Yeah. Vicky comes out, as I say, and explains what this is for.
What is it?
Yeah, because
Why do you bought this?
yeah, out first, Scotty Goldman, obviously, and then Kizarny is followed, and he's pushed out, I think, by the Brian Kendrick at the
Kendrick
time.
knocks him out.
And that's it.
But he's.
That's
End
it.
of the battle royal. Kizarny calling off.
He was being thrown out, or trying to be thrown out, but was it Hawkins or Ryder or something?
I think
and then
so.
Kendrick just comes behind and
Pushes him up.
So I thought maybe he lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah, well,
The second one.
I didn't. I just stopped watching then. But Kozlov would go on to win the Battle Royal.
Battle Royal won by Kozlov.
Yeah, it wasn't the best Battle Royal I think I've ever
I
seen.
don't even know he won it.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
him and
Kozlov.
Carny.
That's
Or-
even-
That was the two.
Impressive.
Those were the two. But that's when you know the standard of your Battle Royal. When the two people they're putting over as potential winners are Carly and Kozlov.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a bad time. I mean, this was a really bad time for wrestling, wasn't it? I mean, 95 was bad, but at least you had Brett and Diesel, and at least you only had one show. I mean, when you've got two shows and you've got next to no...
ECW in 2009, they died for it.
That's bad. So there you go. Kizarny has disappeared. Firstly, go back to MVP, the match. What are your thoughts on the match with MVP?
Sorry for it.
MVP or Kizarny?
Yeah, not Kizarny. But, you know, he was one of the better ones to help try and get him over, but obviously the crowd just did not care. No matter how much the dub wants you to believe it.
Yeah.
Jack?
Well, I think it's a heel gimmick anyway.
Was he a heel?
No,
he was a face.
He should be a heel, but I don't think they work well together. I just think it was a very bad match, and it probably didn't. That probably put a little black mark against him for the rest of his run.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was bad.
It was just to add to his losing gimmick. Really.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Like, we got a new one, he's going to lose to him.
I just think the state of the match probably
The state of it.
any hope they had for it.
Yeah, and
State of it.
in fairness to Kizarny, he doesn't look like a terrible worker. I mean, I haven't seen any of his work after, but I think you're right. When you programmed him with someone who's not really got a lot of heat, because no one knows where he is in his career at the time.
He had a lot of promise.
Yeah.
And then he's just dropped like a...
And I think they was trying to use this as a way to get him over as a face.
Yeah, because he did
as well.
Later,
it's just strange, and like you said, they had no chemistry.
He turns on one face, put him in a team with Mark Henry.
Well, of course.
Well, they did that with Evan Bourne, don't they? He teamed with him briefly, and then you had Cup. Because that's how Mark Henry got the World's Strongest Man. Because MVP had it.
So, it's my attempt now to rebook Kizarny. As we go back to December 2008, and the Brian Kendrick would change his outfit slightly to take on a black top hat and a coat. That's important.
Really see Fantasio now.
Yeah, well, and he would start to be called...
Is he going to come out with Ezekiel Jackson as a big ninja?
He'd start to be... Yeah, I've tied it all up. He would start to be called the Ringmaster, Brian Kendrick. Yeah. Ezekiel Jackson would be positioned in the role of a strong man, and they would be called the Carnival. Kendrick would start to cut promos referring to Mr. Dark. Now, it's important to give some sort of background to this. There's a quite famous novel called Something Wicked, This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, which is based on carnivals, and the antagonist in it is Mr. Dark. Mr. Dark is a very powerful man, and in exchange for secrets, he promises any superstar who wants to join the carnival will get what they desire, and that's sort of portrayed through.
Because I think he does this gimmick
through the Ringmaster.
There's Rob Terry in a mask.
He doesn't appear. Kendrick and Jackson on an episode of SmackDown would be booked into a steel cage handicap match against Triple H by a confused Vicky Guerrero. Yeah, with the stipulation that if Triple H loses...
This is the greatest thing, bro.
Yeah. With the stipulation that if Triple H loses, he's out of the Royal Rumble match. Triple H, however, would win. This is to get over that was Kendrick's desire. The reason he's targeting Triple H is because at Unforgiven that year, he was the one who took the WWE title away from him, so he feels that he needs vengeance. Kendrick. Kendrick would be seen arguing on the phone later on after the match with Triple H, as he was promised that Triple H would suffer. In February, Kizarny would debut, so it is Kizarny. I haven't forgot Kizarny. Kizarny would debut, as he did, but with Kendrick and Ezekiel, and be the Carny of the group, the Carnival. Carly, with a confused Ranjin Singh.
There's a lot of confusion.
Well, yeah, would win the Battle Royal on SmackDown in February to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, and Carly joins the group as the last three in the ring would be Zeke, Kendrick, and Kizarny, and Carly, and they would all eliminate themselves, and Carly would join, and Ranjin Singh.
To the core at any point, does it, with Zeke?
It links into everything. This does. So Carly is joined, and Ranjin Singh disappears. At No Way Out, Carly is out of the chamber early on, so we don't have to suffer that. At the show, however, the group would attack Finlay and cost him the ECW title match against Swagger, which actually happened at No Way Out. Look it up.
Yeah.
Then on an episode of SmackDown leading to WrestleMania, Finlay would have Hornswoggle turn on him and join the Carnival and be dubbed the Little Freak, because obviously he's a midget.
We've got a midget.
So, the group at the moment is Zeke, the strongman, Ringmaster Kendrick, the Carny, Kizarny, the big tall giant Carly, and the little dwarf Hornswoggle. There you go. Kizarny would be granted his spot in the Money in the Bank match, his being Finlay, because he's been taken out after Hornswoggle turns on him by a confused Vicky Guerrero. This was Kizarny's request to join the Carnival, obviously, to Mr. Dark, that he wanted to be in a WrestleMania spot. At Mania, Kendrick and Zeke would win the tag team titles from Miz and Morrison and Carlito and Primo in a triple triangle thing. However, Kizarny would be beaten. After Mania, Carly would want out of the group because he's had his request, which was to fight at No Way Out. Got nothing, and now he's just fed up of it. And Kendrick warns him that Mr. Dark has Ranjin, and he must do as he's told. Oh, what's happened to Ranjin? The group would now be very restless, with them feeling forced against their wills by the mysterious Mr. Dark. Kendrick tries to keep control, but begs Mr. Dark to show his face at Judgment Day. Kendrick and Zeke would lose the titles to the Colognes at Judgment Day, and both men would be beaten down at the order of Mr. Dark, who has given Kizarny a note to tell him this. The group is now Kizarny, Hornswoggle and Carly, as well as adjoining Ricky Ortiz. Yeah, but he's going to be a clown, because he's got big clown hair. There you go.
What about his towel?
No, he's a clown. He's dressed as a clown. Hornswoggle would now take over as the mouthpiece of the group. Ortiz would start to get restless as well. Ortiz's motives really is just to be on TV.
That's his thing. I'll join the group if I can get on telly.
But as he's about to turn, a memo.
Ryan Braddock.
Well, this is the point. So, as he's about to turn and leave the group, a memo. This is how it all ties up. A memo would show on the screen of SmackDown to show WWE have come to the release of the Brian Kendrick, which actually happened in June. So I would use the real life release of him to put the fear into Ortiz that if you don't play ball, you're going to get released, because no one remembers or cares about Ricky Ortiz. You're a clown! Carly would be ordered to take out Jeff Hardy next en route to elimination, to Extreme Rules. Hardy would make it to Extreme Rules despite attacks from the Carnival. Jeff wins the world title, but afterwards CM Punk cashes in his Money in the Bank thing, but Jeff still wins. Hornswoggle would then come out with Teddy Long at his side, who orders the match to be restarted due to a fast count, is what he says. The reason he's restarting it. Teddy Long's confused, but Hornswoggle sort of forced him to do it.
All these people are confused.
Punk wins because I missed the dark. Punk wins the world title in the restarted cash-in with Hornswoggle as referee, and is now in the Carnival as the Tattooed Man. That's his Carnival gimmick. There you go. He's the Carny. The Carnival would now cost Jeff Hardy the Bash. It wasn't the Great American, was it? It was the Bash.
No, it was more American anymore.
Carly would be kicked out around here, but Hornswoggle would be made GM as Teddy Long's quit. Jeff would beat Carly to become number one contender at Night of Champions, and this would cause them to fire Carly. Hornswoggle now starts arguing with Punk and Mr. Dark, who still hasn't showed, about the issues he's facing. Punk reminds him that Dark helped him out years ago with Vince. If he wants to go back to spending his wrestling career as a mute midget under the ring, he can send him back there. So the idea is that he's got leverage over Hornswoggle because he helped him out to get him out from under the ring, because using him as Hornswoggle's Vince's illegitimate son. Yeah. So it ties into that. So Hornswoggle falls into line, and he puts Kizarny in a 6-pack challenge at Night of Champions for the US title. Ortiz gets involved, and Kizarny wins the US title.
Jesus.
He does. And Kizarny and Ortiz then cost Jeff Hardy. At SummerSlam, Punk would retain on his own, so he wouldn't have the Carnival get involved, but Undertaker would return. Punk would want none of Undertaker, and demands that Hornswoggle sorts it. Swoggle would quit rather than to go up against Undertaker, because as much as he's worried about Mr. Dark, he's much more scared of Undertaker. And Ortiz would cost Kizarny, would turn on Kizarny rather, to cost him against Kofi after a gong. So again, he's too frightened of Undertaker to want to stay in the group. Kizarny's now lost his US title. Punk and Kizarny would now start to argue that Mr. Dark needs to turn up or they're out as well. So at breaking point, Mr. Dark would be revealed as Shane McMahon, who rings the bell to cost Undertaker against Punk in the submission match, which actually happened, and that's the reason that Taker is seen to be tapping out. On SmackDown, Taker would take out Kizarny, who's done now, but I'm not stopping. And he's granted a Hell in the Cell. Well, he's granted a Hell in the Cell match against anyone, and he picks Shane McMahon. However, leading up to the Hell in the Cell, Shane and Punk start arguing. Teddy Long says that if Shane doesn't fight Taker, then Punk will have to. Shane quits WWE rather than to fight Undertaker, which he did around then. But warns Punk that they have a legal agreement, and one day he'll be back for what Punk promised him. This is Shane. Undertaker would beat Punk for the title, and then that timeline is reset. In 2016, Shane would return to Monday Night Raw. He would tell Vince McMahon that in 2009 he agreed to be Punk's agent. Punk then, when he negotiated his contract with Vince and the WWE in 2011, when Vince was over a barrel, and had it written that he got a percentage of the WWE shares. That person was Shane McMahon, and now he owns 26% of the WWE. With Stephanie and Triple H's shares, both of them could run Vince McMahon out of the WWE, and he reminds Stephanie that Vince cost Shane and Stephanie before in the ECW and WCW thing. So Shane uses his advantage to get Vince to agree to give him control of SmackDown and Stephanie control of Raw. They remind Vince that Vince cost them the ECW and WCW, and they can now take WWE from him without him being able to do anything from it. However, Vince has one last roll of the dice. As Shane now is back as a contracted member of WWE, he has a contracted match against The Undertaker in the Hell in the Cell, which he refused to take part in before, and therefore books it
7 years
WrestleMania. And that, folks, is how Kizarny booked Shane versus Undertaker at WrestleMania.
It all comes back to Kizarny.
So there
that's
you
the go. Kizarny and all these other things.
You got midgets, you got giants, you got clowns,
Ricky Ortiz,
you got Shane.
So there you go. Kizarny is the reason that Shane fought Undertaker at WrestleMania.
I'm brain out.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
Wow.
Well done.
Well, shall we now talk about some cocks?
Yeah, my rebooking of them ain't going to be as...
How do you rebook a piece?
As we head over...
Book bloody Mania, let's put it that way.
Well, that's true.
From bad for glory.
But we head over to the murky world of TNA, and actually its debut.
Yeah.
Debut pay-per-view, anyway, is TNA, isn't it? It's one of them Wednesday pay-per-views.
Pay-per-views on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Which takes us to 2002. It was June 19th, 2002. And number one was A Little Less Conversation by Elvis and Dance Group. Can't remember. Yeah. However, if the guys don't want to listen, or the girls don't want to be sexist, yes, don't want to listen to Elvis, what offering do you have for them, Jack?
Well, they can listen to Willie Nelson, Time After Time, his cover of Cindy Lauper.
Ooh.
Off the album, The Great Divide.
Oh, like a bit of Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
So that will appear on our Twitter and Facebook as part of a poll. So if you want to,
These two?
well, we'll have a look at them all, and we'll come up with.
Deadly game. We played a deadly game. Let him pick that.
So yes, if you want to read a review of Willie Nelson's album, get over and vote now.
Yeah, vote for it.
Vote for it.
If you want it.
But yes, we're heading to the world of TNA in 2002. Its debut pay-per-view to review The Johnsons. Oh, it's horrible. The Johnsons, before boring a WWE audience senseless as the completely colourless Gemini, were the Shane twins. And they were turning heads in TNA for all the wrong reasons as the Johnsons. They were called, do you know what the names of the Johnsons were?
I made a note of it.
Do you know the two names?
Rod and Richard.
Yeah, well,
Rod
Dick.
Dick and Dick.
Dick and Rod.
Dick and Dick.
And they were...
Dicks.
Hang on, we must have watched this and thought that's what we need.
We haven't got enough dicks around here.
Oh my god.
He'd love that. Well, Pat, I've got a man for it.
I've got two.
They were forced to wear skin-coloured bodysuits that literally made them resemble giant penises.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what honour the Shane twins hold at this point in time in wrestling? In 2002?
I know Jim Cornette hated them.
Yeah,
they were the last reigning NWA Tag Team Champions before the restart.
I did read that.
Oh, they should have still had the belt. Imagine that.
So yeah.
The NWA tag.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So
what has this become?
their manager is Mortimer Plumtree. I don't know much about him at all.
Was meant to be, according to Disco Inferno.
Oh no.
Balls Mahoney.
Ah. Dicks managed by some balls.
Like 2 dicks and 1 ball now.
Yeah, it's all weird.
He could be in Ben's carnival. With 2 penises.
So their manager is Mortimer Plumtree. I don't know anything about Mortimer Plumtree.
The only thing I think is this a piss take on Nowinski? Because I say he's a Harvard grad in it.
Possibly, but
taking the piss out of him.
Yeah, it seemed weird that they would pick on him.
I don't know. Would you put it past him?
No.
Why has he got a cricket bat?
I don't know.
I think he's just trying to get over that he's a bit of
a character.
Well, he's a cornet character, isn't he? You can't use the
every other sport.
Yeah.
Big taken. So he got cricket.
Yeah. He comes out with a lacrosse.
Put that an ox with water polo.
He's got 3 darts.
Top.
Brilliant. Foreign object.
So he cuts a promo in the back with Goldilocks. Oh, DNA didn't know where it was going at this point, did he?
Definitely a Russo book.
Yeah. He says that the Johnsons will follow and obey him. Well, he says that his team will follow and obey him, and he gives you the Johnsons. Just one big giant dick joke.
Story of a life filled with torment. Torment leading to pain. Pain leading to will. Will leading to power. Power allowing me to bring my tag team, who, in our formative years, were my tormentors, now my servants. They do what I tell them to do when I tell them to do it. They wear what I tell them to, without questioning, for they know that they owe me their freedom, their livelihoods, their very lives. They don't speak unless I allow them to. They listen only to me, and now I call upon them to once and for all make their presence known in this arena, rewriting the history books of this sport. I give to you my tag team, the Johnsons.
So yeah, he comes out, and the Johnsons are literally jesters' penises, for fuck's sake, and they're facing the team.
I don't even realise it. Did he mention it? What the fuck is this?
The team of Psychosis and James Storm.
Mex America's Most Wanted.
Mex America Most Wanted.
But Psychosis was in the X Division match later.
It's strange. James Storm's got spooters as well.
It's like a Poundland tag match.
Yeah.
Spooter.
Yeah.
Psychosis.
I call me Pat.
Oh, I love that. A Poundland tag match. That's what it is.
Figures.
Oh,
so, starting out the match is Dick 1, and he starts out with Psychosis, and it's a snap suplex for 2. There's a nice heel kick and an enziguri by Psychosis. Missile drop kick by Storm on Dick 2, and Alicia is out.
Who's this?
I don't know.
Shamrock.
Is he?
Is he?
Because they said who was manager of the what was that? Mozart gimmick they had in WCW at the end.
The Maestro.
Yeah, it was him and his manager. It was because I even said it was Ryan Shamrock.
Oh, terrible.
But, yeah.
Well,
nothing.
Plumtree from the outside starts to shout at the Dicks, and we focus on Alicia constantly. Dick 1 now hits a wrist toss.
Which cock?
It's just all the dick puns, isn't it? Yeah.
Dick puns there.
He hits a rip toss. A rip toss?
Rip
Jesus,
toss.
get even worse.
Rip toss and a rip cock.
Well, he does actually hit a wrist toss. You know, insert your own joke into that. Onto Storm, who skims the cat. There's a basement drop kick, and both dicks hit a flapjack on Psychosis. There's a dickhead redneck as well behind Alicia, just keep getting in the shots and keeps pulling faces and stuff. There's an X Factor by Psychosis, which allows Storm to get in. Oh, there's just a lot of dick. And Storm is in, and he Hurricane Ranas.
I'm going to watch this show and a lot of dick.
Yeah.
Where's Cheeks?
He hits a Hurricane Rana on Dick 1, but Johnson...
Does Dick 2 actually get in the ring? Because
They don't look like
yeah. The Johnsons then reverse and hit a unison belly-to-belly on Psychosis and Storm. Plumtree then holds Storm's leg, and this allows a TKO by what I am calling Dick 2 for the win. And then I hear Don West say, "I want to know why," which made me chuckle.
I want to know why.
I want to know why. So there you go. Yeah.
Was another bloke? Oh, there was the other one.
Ed Ferrara.
Oh, was that Ferrara?
Oh, was it not Don West?
No, he was on.
No, he was
on as well.
3 months.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Ed Ferrara with the dreadlocks. That's when Jimmy Cornette was there, and he said he got to punch him in the face, or he spat in his eye because of the Oklahoma thing. And the last note I have put is just put "fuck Ed Ferrara."
Yeah.
I really don't like him.
So the Johnsons are 1-0. I think they would have one more match in there.
One more match.
I think they had one.
I don't think there was clamouring for another match.
But I don't know whether they won, and I would never want to watch this again. Thoughts? Yeah. Thoughts on the match, Sam?
Shit.
Thoughts on the match, Jack?
Yeah,
it was... I thought it was probably our best match so far out of the three, purely because of Psychosis working around two men.
Jamstone looked a little bit green.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think he was still finding his feet, but do you think Psychosis was thinking, I was fighting La Parker and Ultimate not long ago?
What is this?
Because he took his mask off.
Yeah, he should never have unmasked.
Well, that's true.
Did he unmask in WCW?
I think he did right at the end.
Right at the end,
yeah. They had a thing of taking masks off.
Yeah.
Strangely.
Take the mask off!
And I would hate to have to rebook this, but before you do, Jack, thoughts on this match?
I don't think it was like in the doldrums of being really shit. There was some nice little spots, some nice suplexes and things like that. So from bell to bell it was okay, but you know, they am wrestling cocks. So it's hard to really see past that.
I agree. I completely agree.
It is right. Like the gimmick. Some gimmicks you just can't look past it. I don't care how good he is. He's just a dick.
It's a wrestling cock.
Two giant penises.
Probably looked at that and thought, damn, that beat me too.
Yep.
That's some good shit, Pat.
He probably fired Pat around here for that. Pat, how could you not have given me that?
Pat, you let the dicks fall through our fingers.
Pat's just chuckling to himself.
Pat with that little grin. Poor Pat.
So, as a resident,
Joint company, anyone in the company. Your mate.
Who?
Bruce Bridges.
Oh yeah, he is the giant penis. So, as a resident TNA expert, unfortunately it falls to you, Jack.
Really? I just know more than you two.
Well, you watch it. Yeah, you watch it.
I don't bitch, but even if I was done it, I'd have just refused.
Yeah.
Rebooked it.
Refused.
Yes, we can. We creatives.
Yeah, I rebooked them so they didn't exist.
Yes.
I Thanos
the
them.
Shane twin.
I wouldn't book it, obviously.
So, yeah, it's up to you then, Jack, to make something out of this.
Well.
Over to you.
Well, right. Multiple Plumtree is still there.
Okay.
He debuts the Johnsons on the first show against Christian York and Joey Matthews, who were against at that point.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
They target X Division guys.
Okay.
Who were smaller.
Are they still dressed as penises?
Yeah. Or not. I wouldn't have him as big.
You're a small man, therefore you have a small Johnson.
This is it. Yeah. The Plumtree says the X division.
Is that what we're getting over? Yeah, go on. Yeah, I
know. No, he's booking it. It don't mean he's going to get over.
Well, yeah.
This is what I've got to do.
Look what we do for you people.
Right, Plumtree says the X division is a joke, and he wants to get rid of it from TNA because the competition in the X division just doesn't measure up to his Johnsons.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
dick pun. Right, they have a mini program with York and Matthews. Right, and they would go over in that little program. And then they would move on to AJ Styles. Sorry, AJ.
Wow.
You deserve better. And Jerry Lynn. Who deserves better as well. Who were the tag champs at the time, which is a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was the Johnsons.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Wow.
They have a little run with them again. They'll measure up, blah blah blah. But they're unsuccessful. They're not going to win the belts. It's just a little mini feud. Right. So, that's the end of the X Division run. They move on from the X Division to feud with, you'll like it, Sam, Puppet.
Oh, the midget!
The hardcore midget. And this is a rehash. It's the same narrative. The midget division doesn't measure up.
The
feud really is Plumtree and the Puppet.
Yeah.
Well, not the Puppet, he's a midget. Puppet the midget.
Yeah.
You've saw them live. The midget. That was in WWE, wasn't it?
Was they? I can't remember that.
Puppet and...
I know they were in it, I can't remember whether they might have been.
Because that's basically what TNA was.
Yeah, at the time.
Digivolves from WWE.
We didn't see how he said that.
Digivolve, yeah.
So, the feud is Plumtree versus Puppet. He doesn't measure up.
Yeah.
Right. And Puppet can
Does he
say
got a cricket bat?
he doesn't. He may not be the biggest, but he's hardcore. That was his gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how you use it. Sorry, but AMW have got to be joined because Puppet needs some backup to fight the Johnsons.
Was Harris in it at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they just brought her in.
Yeah, he was right
Saturday night the other day on YouTube. Anyway, 6-man tag: Johnsons and Plumtree versus Puppet and AMW. Johnsons and Plumtree.
That is
by shenanigans. And then there would be a rematch without Puppet and Plumtree, and the match would be the AMW v the Johnsons. Obviously, if AMW win, it's Plumtree versus Puppet in a hardcore match the week after on pay-per-view, because everything's pay-per-view.
Yeah.
AMW would win, and then it's Puppet v Plumtree. Puppet would beat Plumtree in a hardcore match, and then the Johnsons would get released or repackaged, which is even funnier because I said packaged.
And a total package.
Well,
where's Lucas? Where is he?
So basically, the whole thing is about not stacking up because they're Johnsons.
Yeah.
Big Johnsons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
it made some semblance of sense.
It made more sense than him just having a match with 2 singles people who have been stuck together and then disappearing the week after.
The gimmick is their penises.
Yeah.
They have to reference.
Yeah, it's hard to rebook it.
It's hard to say that they had some sort of level of morals when they had like women dancing in cages at the top of the.
There's Russo.
Yeah,
Russo was there.
Garbage wrestling, isn't it?
Put women out there with big tits,
bro.
So there you go. I'm sure TNA wouldn't make the same mistakes with later on, 2 or 3 years later.
Well, worse.
Yes. So there you go, the Johnsons.
You look so depressed.
Do we think that the Johnsons would make a suitable foe for Spider-Man, or are they bunch of the way set as well?
Henchmen.
Spider-Man versus.
And wouldn't this be Sinister 7? Because there's 2 of them.
I wouldn't buy that.
Nah, there's only one Johnson.
1. Well, they morph into 1.
So, heading forward, but staying within the world of TNA. Yeah. As we go forward to March the 13th, 2005, and we review and revisit Triton.
Triton. Ultimate Warrior, not Ultimate Warrior.
Not Kane, not Warrior, nothing like those at all.
That the rumour at the time it was going to be Warrior.
That's why they had that.
Yeah, because when I looked at the logo, because I thought before, thinking of Triton, I thought he's nothing like him. Then I saw the logo, I thought, that's why I thought.
They were never actually negotiating with Warrior, though. At all.
What's the WCW? Is this the Renegade?
Well, I think they just sort of like thought, if we make him look enough like Warrior, Warrior might go, oh, I'll work there, and start negotiating with him. So yes, Triton.
2005, bro.
Well, 2005. Speaking of 2005, number 1 on March the 13th, 2005 was McFly. All About You. Oh. So, if they don't want to check out McFly, Jack, what offering have you got?
They can check out the album True Parallels by Trust Company.
Ooh.
That's what Sam would like.
You're going to vote for that, aren't you? Spam this poll, Sam. Get that one reviewed. So yes, that will appear on the poll. Yes, that McFly will not appear on the poll. I don't know what's going to sing us out though, so I might torture you, Sam, with a bit of McFly at the end of the episode.
All about you.
So, Triton. Who or what is Triton?
What is a Triton?
What is this?
So they built up.
Who bought this crap?
TNA built up this new character for weeks with vignettes of a huge guy stalking around.
He's lurking. He's lurking.
Yeah, lurking. With sort of like flashes of face paint that looked a bit like Ultimate Warrior. Well, looked a lot like Ultimate Warrior.
It was just a Warrior logo, but then they made it into like a cross there to try and get away with it.
He was shown stalking Monty Brown for no apparent reason.
Well, we've got nothing for Monty Brown.
I want to know why.
And this is Ryan Wilson, who had actually worked in TNA years before. Do you know what he worked as?
Security.
Yeah, as the Red Shirt Security. What? I mean, how'd you go? That's awful, isn't it? How'd you possibly get over in that gimmick?
Well, change it to blue.
Oh shit! Is he no longer related?
Well, they had black shirts.
Yeah, he was involved in the epic feud of the Red Shirt Security versus the Black Shirt Security.
I can't wait till we watch that.
Oh wow!
Shirt off, are you then neutral? No shirt security.
I think if you ever needed proof that Vince Russo is not a wrestling genius, that is why he literally booked a feud between colours. So he ended up breaking his arm, and then he got popped for steroids, so TNA fired him. But no, that's true. You wouldn't have thought, would you? But he appeared and turned up in 2005 as Triton. So, match opens up. This is from Destination X, isn't it? 2005. If anyone's watching. A match opens up with a highlight package, which highlights Triton.
Pointing.
Yeah, pointing strangely.
It's like Ronda Rousey's debut.
It's appearing in places and pointing.
He just sort of does he does like an Undertaker style point as well, doesn't he? Like a
pantomime gimmick. He's behind you.
Yes.
For Monty and just appears and goes, "You."
Yeah.
I'm off.
Monty is out in leopard skins. His mannerisms, I mean, I do like Monty, but his mannerisms are weird.
I watched his entrance and I thought, whoa, I used to like you, but now I'm watching you, I think this is a bit shit.
You smell the rose?
Yeah, he just smells the rose.
Ready to lick it, but yeah, but...
And his little...
Oh, yeah.
It's safe for shit.
Oh, that.
Weird.
But the crowd loved him, and I heard one really loud squeal from a woman when he come out.
Woman?
It was like, bloody hell, love.
Yeah, so, yeah, he wipes his head on the rope.
Wipes his nose on the rope.
Nose on the rope. Triton is out now, and he comes out to He's Here voices, didn't he? You know, He's Here.
I think the Taker American Banner.
Yeah, it was... Oh, it's awful.
He went for Kid Rock.
And he is massive. He's absolutely huge.
I can't believe when he comes out and he's got his glasses and his coat and everything. He looks He's got a good look.
Yeah.
Because he's so big in him. Once he takes the coat off,
it looks
awful. He looks like a bean.
He looks so generic, doesn't he? Absolutely generic.
Been that much.
Well, he's like Brock when he puts his beanie hat on. He looks bigger with his beanie hat when he takes it off.
Once he took it off, just awful.
Yeah.
Crap.
You gotta rebook this. He's in his counties again. He's a cold man.
So early on, we've got no cells from from Triton and Monty a bit. Sorry, Monty blocks his attempt at a choke slam.
I think the announcers know the stories because I don't think they mention Triton much.
Well, did you see the dangerous looking press slam where Monty Brown nearly died in the ring? Yeah, he just sort of dropped him on his head. How he managed to avoid a broken neck. And there's you fucked up chance, which is a sign of the times. The choke slam is blocked again, and Monty pulls down the top rope on a charging Triton.
Not brawling either.
And there isn't much room outside. It's tiny.
He's tiny, but as well, you've got them big poles. Was it for the elevation?
Ultimate X, yeah. Chops to Monty on the outside, and Triton tosses him into the steel.
When he does the chop in the ring, it's the quietest chop.
It's a little.
Touch him.
Yeah.
It's so quiet. You could splice it in, but no one would know.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You just hear. What is he, Bog today and Tom?
Well, what I can splice in is the boring chance. Did you hear the boring chance? Yeah. It's always a good sign on a debut, isn't it?
On a pay-per-view.
Yeah. There's elbows to the throats as the com team do their best to put over Triton. And they do, in fairness. I was quite impressed by Tenay on this piece of commentary.
Yeah, I've warmed a little bit to Tenay over the years. They like him.
It's just because of who he's with, I think. You hate them more.
Well, I don't mind Don West.
I'll put it
to OTT, but I'd rather have him being OTT than today's robotic.
Yeah. I'll put here there's shoulder blocks and really quiet chops in the corner as the crowd is really dying. Monty blocks a charge, but this time eats a choke slam, and it gets a two count. There is a really nice drop kick by Monty Brown, the one spot in the match that is kind of athletic. And then there's chops by Monty again that are quite quiet. And then Monty blocks a TKO, which is the go-to big man spot, isn't it, obviously?
It was the move at the time.
And an overhead slam by Monty, and he's setting up for the bounce when... And if you've watched this show, this isn't the first time the lights have gone out tonight, and won't be the last. It went out in the Billy Gunn Kevin Nash match, which happened on this show, by the way. Yeah,
in more a spot, it's just people got fed up, so they turn the lights off.
So the lights go out, and there's a masked man in the ring who gets pounced, and then Monty Brown pins the masked man in the ring, and the ref counts it for a 3. And Monty Brown has beaten a masked man, so Triton has lost. What the hell is that? Someone explain to me what the hell that is.
I want to know.
The fact that Triton disappeared. He's just up.
He's on the top of the ramp. Come to me. I like that, but that mystique loses itself when they have the camera spot inside the walkway, so he does the wall as in like I'm gonna, but then he turns and his face is already like I'm going to the back, gone to like complete non-selling it. Awful, absolutely awful.
You know who the masked man is?
Well, I'll let you tell me because I do know. You can tell.
He told me.
Yeah.
It's Henry O'Godwin. No, it's Phineas.
It's Phineas.
Midian.
He did actually have a match with Monty Brown as well,
I never even knew that happened. I need to watch that.
Triton. Phineas in TNA, Henry Godwin in the Fed.
Oh yeah, he got picked up by the Fed.
He's Triple H's friend.
Wow.
Yeah, and Undertaker's friend as well. He was part of the Bone Crew. It's strange how they kept getting picked back up as they're friends of Taker and Triple H.
Buchanan, was it the developmental had Henry Godwin and Bull Buchanan?
NXT. Imagine that now.
Triton would hang around in TNA, but just be relegated to jobber status and would be in tag matches and things. With Simon Diamond. But there you go. Triton is 0-0 in TNA, but actually competed in a match. Because how could you possibly count this as a loss?
It was abandoned.
It's unbelievable.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Waterlocked.
There you go. Thoughts on the match, Sam?
It was okay, except the finish. What? That wasn't a finish?
Yeah, it's got to be one.
That's not Triton. I'm not counting.
That's not Triton.
Why didn't you just count him out?
Yeah.
Count him out.
Yeah. Who was the was it Rudy?
Could have been.
Rudy. He should have started counting, and then fucking Triton comes running back off the tunnel.
Why did he? What if you're going to have that spot and the masked man? Why didn't he lose? Why didn't I put Triton over?
Why did they do that on Impact? Instead of fucking pay-per-view.
Just why?
No wonder TNA won.
Jack, unfortunately, you've got to rebook this. But before you do, again, thoughts on this match?
I thought it was one of the worst matches I think I've ever seen.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It was bad bell to bell. It was bad character work. It was bad finish.
Even as a hospital, the two meaty blokes, and they tapped each other most of the match. There was the most dangerous spot was the botch. That's the only thing.
The best bit was a drop kick.
The drop kick was the best bit. It was one of the out of the four we've seen so far. Bear in mind, we've seen so far a magician, a Carny, and two dicks. These two are at least sort of realistic gimmicks, the closest to realism we've got, and this was the worst match so far that I've seen. It was awful, absolutely awful. So over to you, Jack. Turn this chicken shit into chicken salad.
Well, cool. You'll have to make do with chicken nuggets.
Right. Hey, people like chicken nuggets.
Triton promos appear during random matches
Ooh.
on TNA, promising a shift in the balance of power.
Just like the balance of time.
Balance of time and space. He will debut at Destination X during the AMW for the Tag Team Champions versus the Naturals.
The Naturals!
This is Douglas and Stevens. Appearing in the ring and taking out AMW to allow the Naturals to win the Tag Team Champions.
No, I am Dudley. AMW.
Dudley.
AMW.
Dudley, that's got to be a team.
Both.
Yeah.
Feud with Dix and Triton.
Yeah, sorry. Recent games. I apologise.
Sorry, Brayden.
Later in the night, Triton would then appear again during the main event.
What do you point?
He can do his fucking hand from the smoke from here by Charles, like Jafar. And it would help Jeff Jarrett retain his title against DDP, aligning himself with Planet Jarrett, which was the group at the time.
Yep. Stage?
He was on his own planet. So, over the coming weeks, he's mainly a corner man, because I watched him and I think he's shit.
I agree.
So he's a corner man for Jarrett, and the I'd mainly put him with the Naturals because I think they.
You're gonna say that every time.
Suits having a big man in the corner.
A bit more of a character. You can have squash matches maybe on Explosion if that's around.
I think it was. Or
his first real feud is against Jeff Hardy, who, because he's good, who's going for the belt against Jeff Jarrett. Right?
Yep.
At Lockdown, he would help the Naturals retain their tag titles, but he would have a match against Jeff Hardy. This is on the Cage pay-per-view as well.
Hang on, I've just thought as well on this. You say like Natural. Dustin Rhodes with AMW.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He would lose against Jeff Hardy.
Okay.
That's his first loss. He can do the thing off the cage if he wants to. Mad.
You can jump off something.
Over the next month, Triton would at some point cost the Naturals the tag titles against AMW.
Okay.
This would lead to Jeff Jarrett questioning Triton's position and his worth on Planet Jarrett. Yeah. Triton would, to try and prove himself, he would face Monty Brown. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
In this
All
match.
right,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
There would be some direction in this.
Triton would lose thanks to a guitar shot from Jarrett, and Brown would align himself with Planet Jarrett, taking Triton's place as the big sort of.
No, we did later on
man.
that.
He did turn here later on, D. And then at Slammiversary, it would be Brown versus Triton. I can't believe I've done this, but Triton is the face.
Wow!
Cheer, Triton!
Yeah, that's bad.
Triton! And Brown would beat Triton again.
Triton.
Yep.
And then I would release him.
You've rebooked 2 people and released it at the end of both.
Well, after that, I just think that he's done.
Yeah. I didn't get fired.
People got fired. Even Kizarny got released in mine halfway through the rebooking.
You know?
So there you go. Triton is no more. Do we think he would be a worthy foe for Spider-Man?
It'd be funny to see him running off in the streets through the smoke.
Once
he gets through the smoke, he
it's
just
the Mysterio.
Yeah, he would be the Mysterio.
Yeah,
We'll put him as Mysterio. I need
Pat, we need a fishbowl.
So we've failed to find anything any good in our first 4 offerings. Will we find anything better in the turn of millennia 2000 WCW?
What do you think, bro?
As we revisit February the 2nd.
I think it was your boy doing it at that point, Maury.
Who's that then?
Sullivan.
Sullivan!
My bro!
Was he doing it in 2000? They got rid of him.
Because Russo got released and then
They brought him back with...
I like Sullivan, his mind and his booking, but I don't like Sullivan from bell to bell. Alright?
Yeah, because he looks like a tramp.
He's just too small.
He's very smart when you listen to him.
Yeah, he's a clever man. A good booker.
Very, very good booker.
I'd agree.
I think we get on to Sullivan.
Well, I hope he's a good booker and he didn't have anything to do with the machine, because that's where we are.
What?
Which machine? Super machine?
I love
Giant
this.
machine?
The machine.
The machine's amazing.
This match
Best
has the greatest spot ever going to see.
When I was watching it, when I was watching it, I do remember thinking, I remember you showing us this and we was laughing. I thought, why? But then it happened. I went, I remember now. Why?
So, the machine. The gigantic Amori Hale.
I thought it was Luther Reigns.
No, it's Amori Hale, who only wrestled 1 match under the guise of the machine in WCW. So this is his only match. Yep. He's a massive man, heavily muscular frame, and it meant he was a perfect pet project for the company. He was managed by... It wasn't here, but he was literally going to be managed by...
Jimmy Hart.
Yep. Yeah, and there's like... playing cards of him and stuff, WCW cards and stuff with him, with the machine.
I watched a WCW Saturday Night on YouTube because there's loads of the 2000 ones. They're awful. They got people like Chris Harris and that on them. There's a bloke called Hale.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Hart.
Oh, I wonder if it's him then. Must be Amori Hale. Bald-headed. Yeah, it's him. It's Amori Hale.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. I've watched 2 matches of him this week then.
You going to rebook it?
I'm going to rebook
it.
That's Ben.
Ben. You and your bit.
Yeah. So they were building up the machine, talking about him, and he was built as a very dangerous opponent for DDP in his debut match. So we head over to Thunder from February the 2nd. But before we do, the world of 2000.
It's a strange time.
Yes. Number 1 in the singles charts in 2000, well, February the 2nd, 2000, was Gabrielle and Rise. So there you go. Rise again. Yeah. Down. No. It's going to take time, I know that. I'll get over you. Oh, it's going to take some time.
I'll get you over.
But
Bro.
Jack, what offering have you got for them?
Well, this is the one that they should vote for. It's Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, literally,
yes.
by Oasis.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. That is one of the few albums I know. So, vote for that. So, we head to Thunder in 2000. This match has the greatest spot there has ever been in a match ever, and we will get to it. But DDP is out with Kimberly. The Machine is hyped as mysterious and mystique. And he comes out to like a Goldberg style sort of spooter, sparkly. He just stands in like the sparkles, but they're in different sort of directions to Goldberg, which made me laugh. Yeah. And he's also in complete and utter darkness.
I have no idea why.
Never known such a dark entrance.
Why is that? Why is that the thing?
I have no idea.
We want the next taker.
When he
Undertaker.
yeah, when he eventually reaches the ring, he's dressed in a pretty awful black mask.
Why has he got assless chaps? It's a machine.
Yeah, I get now.
Assless chaps. Yeah, awful.
Really, the mask. Look, it's just a white
He
paint.
just rewrite them with a mask and some assless chaps.
So let's go bell to bell.
Some assless chaps.
We need to bury your chaps.
Early on, the Machine pushes DDP off and gets tripped twice. The crowd is restless.
80s start, with him shouting at the crowd.
Yeah. There's a nice short arm lariat from DDP, and he works over, and the Machine now starts working over DDP's kidneys. There's a clothesline over the top by DDP, but both men drop outside, which is a trope of DDP's, and it's like the cactus clothesline.
Yeah, he loves that spot.
There's a flapjack face first onto the turnbuckle, and the Machine motions to the crowd in the most 80s way you could ever see. We're building to it. There's a front slam, and I've put here, this match is awful. The Machine looks terrible, but it gets worse. As the Machine goes to the top rope, in the far corner, we shall call it, DDP, who is on the floor, dives to the opposite side of the ring and hits the rope. And despite this having no effect on the ropes or the turnbuckle, the Machine jumps split-legged onto the top rope and yelps. Now, I'm in a
Wily Coyote stuff.
There's a delay, like, goes, and then he just goes,
This. What is that?
I bought the ring from actor.
He should have had that noise, you know, when he's dropping, and then the on the rope.
I will splice in the yelp, but you've got to watch it. when we have this uploaded to our YouTube page, I will splice in the video, because it is the most amazing thing you will ever see in wrestling. It is amazing. DDP clotheslines him off the top rope and signals for the diamond cutter, which is a reversed initially into a clothesline attempt, but this is ducked, and a diamond cutter is hit on the Machine, and that's it. The 3 count is caught. Schiavone on commentary says we'll see a lot more of the Machine in the months to come.
You're right about the Machine. We're going to see a lot more of him. I know in the weeks and months to come, but he
We didn't.
No.
And that is it.
The Machine's out of all.
Yeah. This really does put to rest any fears that people have that machines will eventually take over the world.
All you need to do is run to the opposite wall, push it.
So,
Machines in assless chaps.
I
Oh, I don't remember this in Terminator. Imagine Arnie doing that.
I didn't think we could get any worse. But Sam,
but that's so bad. It's brilliant.
Oh.
I actually put in my notes at the end of this. After that, I put okay match, comma except. I just thought that's brilliant. It's terrible. I love it. 5 stars. 5-star spot.
Jack.
I mean, that spot is amazing, but it's a bad match. It's an 80s match in a 2000 WCW show.
Yeah.
With a gimmick that's straight out of the 80s. I mean,
the 70s
there was a spot as well, which was just bad, not hilariously bad, but just bad. Where he goes for a Russian leg sweep, and I have no idea what he's doing, but it's the worst Russian leg sweep I've ever seen. And I thought
who hit it? Who hit it? There was indeed people was in it.
It's terrible, absolute, really bad. If it wasn't for the crotch spot,
then it would have been bad. But that saved.
Well, this did nothing, because not only did you not get over the Machine because he didn't beat DDP, but you didn't get DDP over because you made him look like he was fighting a jobber. It looked like he was a jobber. The way that he wrestled, it was awful, absolutely awful. Apart from that spot, which is the greatest wrestling spot I have ever seen.
I could just imagine the
remarkable
in the back when laughing. Well, some would laugh, but I could see others like with a look on the face. What the fuck was that?
Vince was watching in Stamford, watching Thunder going.
Yeah, they've got SmackDown and then they've got What's Thunder. And look at it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
So, yeah, I got the enviable task of rebooking this.
How come the Machine was never in the Alliance?
Well, how do you know I ain't going to link it to the Alliance?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a much smaller rebooking. So don't.
This doesn't go through about 6 or 7 years.
No, it doesn't. So, the Machine would be built up in promos as a big masked man. And he would be shrouded in darkness. He would appear at Spring Stampede 9. For just pausing it there. Why did they start numbering Spring Stampede?
I don't know.
As in like a WrestleMania style? Yeah.
No, they did it for Super Bowl.
No, they did it for Spring Stampede as well.
I didn't realise Spring Stampede.
Well, check it out. Oh no, I think it's Super Bowl. I don't know what to do. Because it says here at Spring Stampede, he appears twice at Spring Stampede. So why did they appear? So why did they start numbering Super Bowls?
But on the first one, they just carried it on.
It was in February.
Yeah.
It was the January, February show.
It was one of their main shows, though. They saw it, as I've heard Bischoff say on 83 Weeks, that he saw Super Brawl as one of the...
Like their big 5.
Yeah, one of their big 5. And he always saw Halloween Havoc as the WrestleMania and not Starrcade.
That's stupid.
You can't have... It sounds gimmicky, you can't have that, is it? But, well, there you go.
Starrcade. Been good for years.
So, he would appear...
Yeah.
He would appear first at Super Brawl 9, not Spring Stampede 9, during the Scott Steiner and DDP match for the TV title. He'd show up at the top of the ramp, and then the lights would go out. And when the lights... I don't know. And then the lights would come on, and DDP would be out with the Machine over him. Then the lights would go off, and when they came back on, the Machine would be gone. Yeah. Steiner would use this to retain the TV title. Talk then is of the Machine being a member of the NWO, because Steiner was at the time.
Still around at that point.
Oh,
Yeah,
Brett
still.
brought it back, didn't he?
No, this is...
Then he
oh, yeah, Sylvia, yeah. The Machine would then do the same thing, but costing Steiner at Uncensored against Booker T, who would win the TV title. DDP would demand to know who the Machine is, and at Spring Stampede, the Machine would appear and do the normal stick, but Ric Flair would be out, and this would lead to DDP winning the world title in that 4-way with Macho, Hogan, Flair, and... Did it?
Spring Stampede 99 was that?
I think I've got my timelines all mixed up. But anyway.
He booked backwards.
Yeah, in my...
The machine from 2000.
99 never happened.
Yeah.
It's a time machine.
You should have done that one first.
It's a time machine.
This is all booked. This is all booked around 99's WCW. So my machine would debut in 1999 and WCW. It doesn't matter too much because you'll understand in a bit. So this happens in 1999. That's key. It has to stay in this timeline because everything links up. So in 1999. It's Rick Stampede. Ric Flair would be cost his WCW title and DDP would win it. Ric Flair would demand a rematch at Slamboree with DDP, who would grant it but insist that the machine has nothing to do with him. As Ric Flair has DDP in the figure 4 leg lock, the lights would go out and the machine would be over Ric Flair, and again back off, Ric Flair's out, DDP wins again. DDP and Flair are now in a feud and DDP challenges the machine to a match on Nitro for once of all and for all to put to rest that he's got nothing to do with him. DDP would win easily against this big bloke. Ric Flair would be granted a rematch against DDP at the Great American Bash after beating Canyon. In this match, Bam Bam would be unmasked by Arn Anderson during the machine's light on, light off spot as the machine, and Ric Flair is now the number one contender. At the Great American Bash, a much smaller machine would appear on the top of the ramp and be about to cost Ric Flair when the lights go off and come back on, and now a slightly bigger machine is in the ring, but Arn Anderson is at the top of the ramp with an unmasked machine, which is Canyon, who is out. The machine in the ring turns to see this and is low blowed by Ric Flair, and when the lights cut off and on again, they unmask the machine, and that's DDP. And this would lead to DDP's heel turn, Ric Flair retaining the title, regaining the title, and set up the Jersey Triad. So there you go.
You do link it all that.
No,
I link it.
The machines are from 1985.
So I've linked it up, but I've got nothing to do with.
I know it was Marvel based with a multiverse.
So there you go.
machine displayer.
I've got a feeling
I rebooked the machine.
Very short.
I rebooked the machine to not include the machine.
Yeah, I like that.
So we've had him released. He's the only one that we didn't have. Let's rebook him. No.
So
not happy.
So every good superhero needs a big, huge, giant guy to overcome, and our last stop in the Sinister Six is to see the biggest of them all. But it's not the Yeti. Or Yeti. It's his evolution of super giant
copyright friendly
ninja. Yes.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat's big at the time, player.
Why don't they bring it back with Glacier?
But just to give you some background.
That's true. Actually.
That's a very good point. Super giant ninja.
I'm not fucking rebooking now. I've just realised. I should have got into the future 3 years later.
So Super Giant Ninja would face the one-man gang on is it Saturday night?
Saturday night.
WCW Saturday night.
What for the belt was it?
No.
Couldn't say.
It was in January 1996, January the 20th to be precise. Number one then was Jesus to a Child by George Michael. There you go.
Sam don't know what that is.
But if they are like Sam and don't know what that is and want another option, Jack.
Well, your other option is a heavy metal.
So heavy your voice went.
Yeah, my voice went. That heavy. From 96. It is Predator, which is the album, and the name of the band is Accept.
Well,
which heavy metal aficionados will know.
Yes. But will they accept it on the poll?
That's what accept it or not?
We have got quite a diverse range of Yeah, we've got indie, we've got country, we've got rap.
Yeah. We've got ska punk.
Ska punk. Some metal offerings, so there you go.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, hip hop.
Yeah, hippity hop. So, the Super Giant Ninja. If anyone didn't know who the Super Giant Ninja was, he was Reese.
Who after this was then Ron Stud.
Yeah.
Big Ron Stud.
But before this was the Yeti.
Paul Reese.
That was meant to be Joey Gonzalez.
Yeah, well, he spent, literally after his debut, spent like a month in hiding and was advertised as part of the inaugural World War III pay-per-view as one of the giants in the rings. He was as the Yeti. 60 men would square it off in 3-ring battle royal to determine the new WCW champion. But if this wasn't gimmicked enough, each ring would include one giant, the Giant, the Yeti, Hogan. And Hogan being the other giant.
All the changes, or it was going to be Giant Gonzalez, and was the other, and then there was going to have Loch Ness. Then it was One Man Gang who they said no, even though he's still in the match. So they just said, it's Hogan.
So the Yeti was advertised as one of the three. The Yeti did indeed participate in the match as advertised, but the problem was that he'd somehow morphed into a giant ninja.
That's what was under them wraps.
Do you know what they speculated had happened on commentary to explain this? He'd thawed out.
But did he thaw out today? Yeah, he thawed out on Nitro.
Was that his first Halloween now? Alright.
I'm sure Hogan had something to do with this, because even that's what actually Sullivan says. He goes, he wanted the Yeti, even though he'd never heard of one, and he wrapped him up.
Well, WCW felt the need to obviously, they called him the Yeti, even though he was just as a ninja.
They just call him the ninja.
Well, how long did he last in the match?
He was first one out.
Yeah, 47 seconds.
He was one of the giants.
It was 47 seconds, and most of his appearance was on the ramp, attacking someone on the ramp.
Did you see when he falls out? 'Cause I have watched this. When he falls out, he pulls out some jobbers, but his mask's like
yeah,
keep readjusting it. Like he goes see out of it.
So WCW clearly lost faith in the Yeti gimmick and had just done the bare minimum to sort of make good on what they'd advertised.
Mortal Kombat's big.
He never appeared at another pay-per-view event as the Yeti, or even the Super Giant Ninja, or even Nitro, which was then even more important than pay-per-views. But curiously enough, he would face One Man Gang, who was a member of the Dungeon of Doom with, and no one mentions this at all.
They kicked him out. They kicked out the Super Giant Yeti.
Had they? Oh, right, fair enough.
One Man Gang was sort of there, but he was actually, because
so we head to
roll with One Man Gang. Yeah, when Hogan hits him with a chain, he just starts running and jumps into the cage himself.
So we head to Saturday night's WCW in January the 20th, 1996. Strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a really bumpy ride.
It's a really quick one.
Yeah.
Dusty's on comment, bro.
One Man Gang is out with the US Championship.
Yeah. Can I ask who the bloody hell put a belt on One Man Gang?
It's because
they took it off. What's his name?
Kazuki Sasaki.
Yeah, because he wouldn't drop it.
Why did they put it on One Man Gang then? Why did they just put it back on stage?
What they did... No,
I know what happened.
Yeah, because they taped it where he won, but then they did another match
afterwards
but
to make
they
you
tape
think.
It, so they just kept it to say, okay, he's won the belt.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Because they don't want to lose
they
the
want to
belt.
drop it, did they?
Crazy Japanese people.
US belt.
In the ring, the Super Giant Ninja stands opposite. Dusty is shocked by his size. Why is Dusty shocked by his size? He's seen him so many times now.
Havoc, and no, hang on, Dusty won on commentary then, is it? But he was at World War III. He was on one of the rings.
Dusty is brilliant on commentary. I must stress that. I will splice in some Dusty just from this match. It's just brilliant.
Wow! Look at this guy. Devil here is huge. They trading blows right off the get-go Saturday night. The big guy. I'll tell you what. One Man Gang got a date with the man himself, Hulkamania. Taking a look at this thing right here. Wow.
They trade shots, and Gang is chopped in the corner. It's a splash in the corner by gang as Shivani and Dusty discuss the ninja's trousers and what it says.
I want to see what's on his tights.
Brilliant.
What does that say on his title? I have no idea. I can't. Is that overall or what is it? What does that say? I don't know what it says. Let's see. Giant ninja or something.
What's on his tights? And then I think Shivani just says, I think it says ninja.
Yeah.
Shivani did more having in here.
The gang then does the big Andre spot and slams the supergiant ninja and does his splash. What's his splash called?
It's at 747.
Yeah.
It's a plane, he don't get that high.
You have to get off the floor.
They should have called it the tugboat or something. The barge.
So he gets a splash. Narrowboat. He gets a splash for a 3, and that's Super Ninja splash. The crowd is small, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was at the. Was
MGM,
that the one where they did the NXT tapings? Was that where they did it the once?
I don't know, but they made it.
That one where they'd come out on like a stage.
Well, where
NXT film there a while ago.
Possibly, but where WWE makes the crowd look as big as possible, WCW made it look as small as possible,
This was
and it's quiet.
B, C, D show.
Well, this was the biggest rating though, or it for a while for him.
Yeah, it was getting more. It was getting as equivalent of Raws. A lot of the Saturday night spots.
Bloody hell.
What happened on it?
In 5 months' time, the NWO debuts. In 3 months' time, the MWO debut, really, with Scott Hall. 3 or 4 months from here.
You know,
Look at this.
The Dungeon of Doom's still around when the NWO.
I know.
Because Giant rejoins it.
This is garbage, isn't it? Absolute garbage. Thoughts on this squash? Sam?
I like One Man Gang.
You can't just like a match because someone's in it.
Yeah, well, it was what it was.
Yeah.
What was on his tights?
We'll never know.
I tried to look.
I think it says ninja.
You've got your chance to rebook his tights in a minute.
That says jump steady. It says a dog.
One side says dead, the other one says gimmick.
Brilliant.
Jack, thoughts on the squash?
It's a squash match, but it's with a jobber who isn't a jobber.
Yeah.
So just cart out Al Green or whoever.
Lean, mean Al Green.
That bloke who looks like Harry Kane. Go and cart him.
He was in the
Oh,
he was
brilliant, that is.
Instead of
I saw that about 4 times.
Yeah, brilliant.
Why?
Andy Powell.
I don't get
Did
it.
they have it on here?
They had it and everything.
It's a brilliant spot. Whoever found that, it's just amazing. Yeah, I didn't get it either.
No, stupid.
It was terrible. But over to you, Sam,
Here we go.
to turn this ninja.
How do you book a super giant?
I will say that he does end up getting released.
That makes a six. That makes a 6. Every single one of them.
No. 5 got released. 1 didn't actually appear.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Oh, dear.
So I have actually put him in a tag team.
Okay.
I've put him with Kurosawa, with Robert Parker as the manager.
Okay.
It fits.
Sort of, yeah.
Ninja.
Japan.
You know WCW, that would
Evil
do something
foreigners.
like
Ninja Japan and then Texas managing him. Southern
He
manager.
did manage Kurosawa.
Yeah, no.
So,
Super Orient Express. Oh, Super Gato.
Did they come out to?
look, I could have put him in Sonny Ono, and I think that'd do
Yeah,
it.
it's true.
And Colonel Robert Parker can talk.
True.
Well, sort of. They would squash people on Saturday night and Nitro, because obviously they had like about 1,000 wrestlers. They just can't out every so often to put people over. So it's to sort of build them up. They would then move into a feud with the Nasty Boys.
Jesus. Who's leading?
Thanks.
And that would have a match at Uncensored. It's just like a big brawl kind of thing. Cause that's
Never. Nasty match. A brawl.
Rocky couldn't. It was a toss-up with No. It's too big for a wrist match. But that would be that feud and the Nasties would go over. This one, you're going to like this. The next feud would be the Road Warriors.
Oh, Jesus.
But this would stem from the Kurosawa breaking Hawk's arm, which
Yeah.
didn't sell.
Yeah.
So obviously you could lead into that with Animal coming back. They would eventually lose the feud at some pay-per-view.
Of course.
Then I would put them in a feud together, like Robert Parker's blaming him Supergiant Ninja for the loss.
Ninja the face.
Ninja would then turn face, but not for long because he'd lose to Kurosawa and then he'd be gone.
So is Kurosawa the one that you're trying to get over in that?
In a sense, yeah. Because I did quite like it. He was wrestling for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was alright.
But that's anyone would do. So put him in a team.
Does he ever win a match?
Yeah.
No. Well, he does. Job match.
Can you book a giant? Not like a giant.
So there you go. Do we think any of those 6 would be a match for Spider-Man?
I think if they all turned up at the same time, it'd still win.
So there you go. We hope you've enjoyed our wading through this shite.
We're releasing of the Sinister Six.
But let
It
us
wasn't rebook, it was re-releasing.
let us know if we've missed a trick, and there's a way to.
Tell us.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey!
And there's a way to rebook those 6 better. Follow us as usual on Twitter at BCC Pod, and our Facebook page, which is now facebook.com/BCC Pod. Head over to YouTube as our back catalogue will start to be uploaded there. And search the term Better Call Creative and follow us on YouTube. And of course, head over to our website, which will give you our back catalogue as well as Jack's video games and music reviews, which is bettercallcreative.com. To round out the episode, as we always do, we will now fantasise about a special subject, normally to do with our subject for the podcast. This episode, our fantasy card was around the world of comic book characters, superheroes, to be precise. So we had to come up with as close to a 6-match card as we could, using gimmicks that have some sort of semblance in superheroes or that mythology. Jack, do you want to go first with your opening bout?
Right, contest number 1 is a fatal 4-way or a 4-way dance. It would be Shocker.
Oh,
yeah.
Versus Electroshock. Versus...
Who's Electroshock?
Well, in wrestling.
Yeah.
In Mexico.
Yeah.
Like with a big bodysuit and the thing.
Oh, okay.
Cyclops. Or Cyclope.
Cyclops.
And
Rey
Mysterio.
Yep, Mysterio.
And I would put over Rey Mysterio, obviously, because the other 3 aren't as good.
Very good.
And Shocker is shit. Let me just get that out there.
Well, my opening contest would be between the Rabid Wolverine, Chris Benoit,
Leap!
versus Bonesaw, who is in Spider-Man and is played by the Macho Man. Yeah,
Right.
I know, and I would put over, well, Macho Man obviously, well, Bonesaw.
Very intense.
My first one would be Shocker, which is the one I'm nicking from you, I don't think it is, versus the one I've got in mind is El Hajo de Santo.
Yeah.
Because obviously in Mexico he was in comics and everything.
Yeah, he was a
and
comic book character.
The Santo would have to go over him.
Of course, definitely, he'd have to. Mexico would revolt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my first bet.
Fair enough.
Match number 2, Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Loki.
Oh, yeah.
Versus...
I was thinking of what?
Versus Christopher Daniels, who is the fallen angel.
Yes, I like it.
From TNA. From TNA. From the X-Men.
Brilliant.
Christopher Daniels.
I like it. Well, my next match would be legitimate superheroes, Hurricane and Rosie. You haven't used the Hurricane.
When he said superheroes, I thought I bet you it.
Of one of them, I'm telling you that.
Versus Arachnoman, obviously Spider-Man takeoff, and his tag team partner, Ultramantis Black, because Ultraman is a comic book character.
Yeah.
In manga.
I
would put over Hurricane and Rosie.
My next one is an intergender match
What?
with Mighty Molly versus Super Eric. Eric Young.
Super Eric,
Super
brilliant.
Eric. I'll put Mighty Molly over. Eric Young he can pull it off.
Match number 3 is a street fight. It would be Batista, who is Drax.
Yes.
Would he be dressed as Drax?
If he wants to. Versus the Iron King, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Joe Coffey.
Like it.
And I would put over Joe Coffey.
Over Batista.
Yeah, he needs the run. Batista's going back to Hollywood.
Yeah. So my next match...
To Inverness.
My next match would be in an Iron Man match.
Oh.
Yes, Iron Man.
Wear the suit.
But it would be a triple threat
Mark 4.
between Rey Mysterio, Matt Riddle, as in Riddler, and Finn Balor, dressed as Venom, obviously. And I would put over Mr. Balor.
My next one would be the Rabid Wolverine, Chris Benoit, versus the Punisher, Andrew Martin.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
That one, as soon as you see the Marvel, I thought of him. I thought, that's brilliant.
Wow, terrible.
Took him from DNA.
What a terrible match.
Benoit would go. Well,
Brilliant.
Of course he would. 6-man tag is next. Match 4. 6-man tag. The Shield. The Shield.
Yeah, good.
Versus
Brilliant.
the X-Men. Right.
Oh.
This is a group I have created.
Oh.
It is the Rabid Wolverine.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit.
I thought you was going to say somebody else then.
Lance Storm.
Storm.
And the Colossus of Bogger Road. Nathan Jones.
Oh,
That's brilliant. You've definitely won this card, obviously.
In the suits.
Should have had Beast. The Beast, Brock Lesnar, blue.
Yeah.
With blue fur.
Oh, yeah, you got that, yeah.
The Shield go over on the X-Men's debut.
Nathan Jones.
Well,
I thought the Colossus.
I feel like my card's already lost.
Yeah, Bard's lost it.
My next match would be Mr. America, Captain America, obviously, versus Mark the Punisher Calloway, because that was his gimmick.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to have tests. I had Undertaker instead. And
I'm Monday Brody Test.
I would put over Mark Calloway.
My next one is a tag match.
Ooh.
Hurricane and Rosie versus the Deadpool, Raven,
Yeah.
Vampiro. And I would have the Deadpool win because they had to change it. Obviously Raven left, but they had to change it because I think Marvel hang on a minute.
I got a minute.
So yeah.
My next match, match number 5, hardcore match, Rhino versus the Sandman. Oh, Rhino's Rhino, eh?
Yeah, but it's called
think
and
of
it's on the
any
War Machine as well.
And no more machine.
And I'd put over
How did I not think of any of these?
Rhino, because I like Rhino.
My next match would be a women's match between Mighty Molly and Alexa Bliss, who is obviously Harley Quinn. And I would put over Alexa
I
Bliss.
was struggling because when you said Marvel, I thought I could think of a few DC, but I don't want to put it.
I did. I was struggling to get Marvel, so I bailed on that idea.
My gimmick. My next one is Rey Mysterio versus Arachnaman.
Oh,
Jesus! That late in the card.
That was one of the
this
first
is the
matches.
this is the come down match.
Ray would win,
of course.
Thank God.
And I'll make him wear a fishbowl.
Was the recommended the Fantasio string? My main event is Hulk Hogan, obviously, versus the Beast Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
And I'd put over Hulk because he's got a hot dog anyway.
Yep.
Might as well win.
Well, my main event is Hulk Hogan versus Joker Sting, and I would put over Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan's going to hot dog anyway, isn't he? So.
Hold on, you're doing twice.
Yes, I am.
He's doing double duty.
You've got a lot of part, man. It's Hulk Hogan versus Mr. America. And they're both going to hot dog. You know, like Jet 2 on the ticket. We're going to together.
That's brilliant. Gotta be some artwork in there.
I don't know who to put over because either way, Hogan wins.
It's a draw, brother.
Brutus wins.
Brutus the ref.
Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy Hart and Brutus.
So there you go. I will be posting up those cards along with the episode on our Facebook page, which again is facebook.com/BCC pod. There will be a link on our Twitter page, so follow us at BCC pod. It'll also appear on our website, which is bettercallcreative.com. And again, check out our YouTube channel and search for Better Call Creative and subscribe along. Our next episode, we will be reviewing WCW's retort to the Royal Rumble as we head to 88? Yeah, you didn't even know.
I think the Rumble was actually the retort to Bunkhouse.
Well, fair enough, but we're going to be doing the...
I thought it was going about World War 3.
No, we're doing the Stampede, the Bunkhouse Stampede, sorry, from 1988. Yeah, we'll see who wins it, baby. And following on from that episode, we will be revisiting a story arc, which is Sting versus Vampiro.
Oh, yeah. Voted for.
Which was voted by the fans.
Yes!
Something to look forward to. We are out of time and 1 minute away from kickoff in the FA Cup between Albion and Albion. Or a couple of minutes. I have been Leatherboy. Ben Chance saying goodbye. With arm falls off boy. Sam Chance saying
goodbye, waving with my arm that not fell off.
And the doorman of the group, Jack Chance saying
au revoir.
Goodbye, folks.